difference in what I typically keep. Here's the Transalp's factory toolkit that I've actually never opened. I'm not sure even what's in it. And this is where I'll keep my spare front tube. So it's just enough room for the tube to go in there. When you put the seat back, you've got to hook it onto this, so you've got to kind of slide it in. This box makes that kind of hard to do. You can see where I've got a wire coming up to feed my box here. And there's the 12 volts thing that I've got in there. So I'll use that to charge usually this thing. This is a 12 volt inflator thing, so that's a inflator, jump box, power thing, all in one box. And you can see in this one, in this tray, I've got these little plugs, and I'm probably going to pare this down. I just ordered some and threw them in here. I've got this thing, which I picked up at Walmart fairly cheap, and it's like multiple sizes. You can see like this thing will pop out, and it's one size on one end, the other a different size on the other end. So you can see it's 11 and a 12 millimeter, and it fits into the 14 millimeter, and then you got a 19 millimeter. And then all the other ones, and I took some mechanics wire and kind of stuck it on there because I could also use the mechanics wire if I needed to. So that's in there. Along with that, one of those icon sets, which these things are freaking awesome. And I just took out the factory kit. It's right here. So this is what it came with, and you can tell it's been chewed up by, I guess, a rat or something. And I laid out all the tools, and actually, it's kind of surprised. So there's your axle bolt right here. Well, this is this side. So you've already got that, so you can actually take your wheel off and stuff like that with that. And there's your two main bigger sizes, and that will slide on the end and give you more leverage, I guess. It also comes with double-ended wrenches, so that gives you all the wrench sizes. What's that, a 1/4 inch? That looks like that's been added. I don't know why you'd need that one or that one. Those look like they were added, but these three look like they came with it. And I'm assuming that's a spark plug wrench and an Allen key. So what I'm going to do is do away with these for now. Is that a 3/8 and a 1/4, which I don't really see the need for. Let's see. You know, I just realized I don't know exactly. See this one, your adjustments right here. I don't see where the adjuster is on this thing. Oh, right here. So I'm assuming that's what this is for. That's interesting. Well, maybe not. I'll have to fiddle with that. Here's the thing. This takes care of that, and in a actually more convenient way. So that's going to go away. Not sure about this yet. I might keep it, I might not. I'm not sure as far as in the bike. The double-ended wrenches, to me, that's awesome because you've got multiple sizes in case you need them. It's weird. Blue Hawk. I don't know if these were added. That looks like it was added, and that's standard. This is not a standard bike. Everything on this should be metric, I believe. I could be wrong. So what I'm going to end up keeping out of that set mostly are these three items. So those will go in here. I'll probably figure out a better way to put them in there. But here's the deal with this. I have a way of inflating my tires. I have a way of patching my tires really quickly, really easily, really, fast here. Between this and that, I've got most of the hand tools that I'm actually going to need to work on this bike on the side of the road if I have to. And they all fit under the seat, I think. I hadn't quite, this might have to come out of its box or out of its bag. You can see it in there. So if I were to pull this out, this is where the original kit used to live, right here. See, that'll slide, actually, yeah, that'll slide in there pretty easily, like so. And then you've got the other two parts of it that can go in there like so. So now, kind of hard to do this with one hand. Just trying to give you an idea of what I'm looking at. And one of the reasons that I prefer the vstrom, I've got every tool that I'll need for this bike right there. Now, I mean, some tools may be better. Instead of having a double-ended tool, maybe there's a better tool for the job. But on the side of the road, paring it down to as little as I can possibly pare it down to, this is a pretty decent kit. This has your Phillips and all that in it too. It's got, plenty of tools to do the job right here. The only thing I might add is, where's that? Okay, so if you look in this one, I might add, see, I've bought two of those, so I've got one in here too, is this. Not the whole thing, but I might add the ratchet. Not this. I've got plenty of extra crap. So if you look over here, what I thought about doing is adding one of these, because that is one of the handiest little 1/4-inch ratchets I've ever had. But see, I've got, even if I just wanted to take this and throw in there, I've got a spare 1/4-inch ratchet anyway. So, matter of fact, I think I'm going to do that. That gives me a 1/4-inch ratchet. The little one that's in here probably is perfectly fine. But if I wanted to add, say, a little bit of torque, I've got that one. And then over here is my extra crap drawer, all my extra ratchets. So I'll dig through here and find the common sizes that I'd use, which are all going to be metric. Okay, but either way, like here's a 12. So I'm sure I'll use a 12. I'll find all the rest of them. So I'll get the 10, 12, 8, all the different sizes that I don't already have covered. And those will go in here as well. So now I've got a pretty substantial kit in just under my seat. Just plenty enough to do everything I need on the side of the road. Again, tubeless tires. Now let's look at this one. So I have these. This will, because if you think about it, I've got to be able to pick up the either end, whichever tire's messed up. I've got to be able to pick it up. I've got to be able to take the tire off, the entire wheel off, and break the bead. So that's what these are for. This breaks the bead. You can stick it in there. I can't show you with one hand, but you get the idea. So those were like 80 bucks. And then I've added that. Actually, I'm going to add some of these to my other bike too. But again, I've got room under the seat. This is to go up here and hold my brake. So if I jack up the rear, my front's not going to come out from under me. So that's what that's for. And that works in conjunction with this. So that jacks one side up. So I'm using the stand, the kickstand, and this at the same time in order to lift this up. I also try to carry a ratchet strap, sort of like that, because I could lean it up against a tree, hook a ratchet strap, pick it up, and use the actual tree. I've also got a tube repair kit here. Let's see, I've got this, which I originally bought for the Africa Twin, but it just happens to fit the Transalp as well. So I can do that. They're pretty lightweight. And now I can take my axle nut off. I'm not sure how many times you could use them before you stretch them. They are made out of aluminum. But it also has, let's see, what is that? Different sizes in here as well. So there's a size there, there's a size there. You can use those as wrenches, I guess. Not sure how effective that would be, but you get the idea. You've got kind of multiple tools in one. So between that and these, that's like $100 and something in those two tools. Wipes. Which again, I'm going to keep on the other one. I went ahead and added some extra. These things are freaking awesome for most things. And I'm probably not going to keep these in my other one just because of weight and extra things. I've got a thing of WD-40. Valve repair kit with extra valves. Mechanics wire. And electrical tape. So again, I actually need to add some electrical tape to my other kit. Also, baby powder for putting the tubes back in. So you think about all the extra crap that I've got in this kit, mostly because I've got to be able to take the wheel off. So that sucks. To be completely honest with you, when you're on the side of the road, that's no fun. It's just not something I want to have to do. So when you think about the extra crap that I'm throwing in, and that's this entire bag that I'm having, it's living in my box with everything else, that's a lot of room. That basically this entire box is right here. Pretty much everything I need for this bike is now under the seat. So any bag or box that I add, this is temporary just because this is all I had and it was the only way I could connect it. But that too, see, that's in here. And I did keep this and this in there. I'm actually sort of slowly moving things over to this bike. If I keep the Transalp, I'm going to buy another one of these, and put in there with the Transalp. But you think about all the extra stuff that I'm carrying, mostly and really only because this is tubeless tires. And then consider, okay, I'm on the side of the road, I got a flat tire. Well, plug real quick, screw it in, find it, whatever. Keep in mind, I'm always carrying a little multi-tool. I'm always carrying, so just on my person, I carry a multi-tool. I carry a pocket knife. I also carry a little tiny adjustable wrench in my pocket. And I know I'm a nerd. And one of these. So this is scissors, tweezers, all that kind of stuff. I use these to cut zip ties, wire, all kinds of crap. That's a handy little thing. So I keep all that on my person pretty much all the time. This is to supplement all of that. But look at how much room under the seat I've got on this one. that literally the seat just shuts, and this is all where I need it when I need it. And then all the extra crap I have to do here. But if I've got to fix that flat, it's plug, fill, drive. I'm not taking the wheel off. I'm not having to deal with all that stuff, because if you think about it, all right, taking this wheel off, I am taking, maybe you don't have to do this, but I usually take these 2 bolts out to get this out of the way. Take these 2 bolts out to get that out of the way. Take that off, slide that out, pull this out. Now, on the side of the road, in the dirt, in the mud, in the rain, whatever, I am now taking all this off. I am exposing my bearings. I'm exposing all of this to mud and grit and dirt and things like that. So on top of all that, I've actually got a buddy that's in construction. He's supposed to bring me a piece of that house wrap stuff, which from what I understand is the best stuff to have for this, but it wraps up into almost nothing, like a 2 foot by 2 foot piece. So I can lay that down, lay this on top of it, change my tire, even if it's muddy or nasty. But again, that's yet another thing that I'm adding to my kit. But I've got to take all this off. I've got to expose it all. I'm always scared to death I'm getting grit into my grease and in my bearings and things like that. I've also got to loosen these 2 on both sides to get this off. It pinches right here. So you think about all the extra work. I've got to make sure that I can pick this up and do that. Now, if I had a center stand, that would make things a little bit better. Now, here's the thing. You put a center stand on this bike. Here's your ground clearance. Your center stand is right here. I've just taken my ground clearance down by that much. Now, I'm pretty darn close to the ground clearance of that bike right there. So, adding a center stand to this adds weight, complexity, does make it a little more convenient, but it's an extra $200 too, basically, for a center stand, and it takes my ground clearance away. And a lot of people that are like, hey, this is better off-road. Well, my oil filter is back there, just like this. My exhaust pipe, that one's actually shrouded. Look, it's got a shroud around it. It's plastic, but it's better than nothing. This one that's supposed to be more for off-road, there's your oil filter. There's your exhaust. Unless you put a skid plate on this, that one is actually better protected than this one. Which is just ridiculous to me. I do need to get one of these little doodads to put on my radiator, so I'm going to get one of those at some point. But again, think about the extra work that I have to do. Again, same thing here. When you take these wheels off, there's little spacers that when you take them off and put them on, I'm going to use a floor jack that's rolling around here somewhere. So typically, I'm using that floor jack. I'm picking this up somewhere along here, picking it up. This is in a perfect environment in my shop. And I've got to pick it up. I've got to take all this loose. I've got to take all the adjustment out of here. I've got to pull this off the chain. I've got to lay it on the ground. Now this is up. Now if I'm using that little kickstand thing I've got, to be honest, I've not actually used it yet on the side of the road. And I'm not 100% sure how good that thing's going to work. So I just don't know. I don't know how well that's going to work out for me. It's kind of an unknown. I've only ever changed them in here. But there again, once I get the tire off, I've got to break the bead. Now I've got tire spoons in here on the side of the road in the dark or in the rain or in the cold or right off the side of the highway with 18-wheelers rushing by me. That sucks. It just sucks. So think about the amount of work I've got to have in place to fix one tire. And then, if you're not careful, I hadn't done this yet, but you can pinch a tube putting it all back together. You're stressed out. You're trying to get hurry, get off the road, you're getting soaking wet. You get careless with one of your bars, you pinch the tube, and you get to do it all over again. And then you might not, now you've got to use this on your brand new tube that you just stuck in. And I carry one tube with me. I don't carry two. Everything I have seen, you can carry the front tube and you can use it in either the front or the rear. But again, if I use this in the rear to get me home, I got about 50 to 100 miles, and that's no good. And even if I do get home, I've still got to then take this back out, take all this apart, take that tire, get rid of, or, you know, go through the whole thing and find me another tube, because now that I've used this in the rear tire, it's probably not something I want to use again. So when this one went flat, I brought the tube home. I ordered that one immediately and got it in the next day. And I carried the old tube with a patch in it until that one came in. But think about, there's space and weight. Space and weight. Because I'm carrying tools with me, and again, this is an adventure bike. This is something I want to be able to go. I go 4 or 5 hours away on this bike and go wherever I'm going. After that thing tried to let me know that my tire was flat, and I didn't realize it. I couldn't see it. I couldn't hear it, which is, again, why, you know, this is right here is the best place I could find to put it. And it works. I can monitor it if I'm paying attention. But that day I was jamming, man. I had my music going. I was riding on the highway. I was having myself a ball until all of a sudden something didn't feel right. So this one is right in my line of sight. It's going to beep. It's going to make noise. It's going to do whatever it's got to do. And it will let me know quite a bit better. Also, this one is wired into the bike. I actually ordered this for the Transalp. This one, and you can see the battery's almost dead. You have to charge this one with a little magnetic thing that fits back here, and it kind of sucks. It came with something to put it right here, and it used to live right here, but I hated all this crap all over my handlebars. I do use two-way radios. I'm a ham, obviously, and I'll use that as well when I'm riding down the road. This one's the only one I could find that was pretty decent, that Bluetooths to my helmet. I've also got my phone here. So, you know, I've got a switch for my lights. I've got my phone here. I've got this here. I've got that there. On this one, so far, the way I've set it up is my phone lives in this. So now my phone is out of the weather for the most part, and it's kind of still in front of me. And then this is Android Auto. So I've got a map and I've got music, and I can control my music here. I can control this with this, but I don't really like this thing. It kind of sucks. But really, if I want GPS, I'm using my phone on this. I'm still using my phone on that, but it integrates better. But I just want you to think about the amount of work and hassle that it takes to change that tire on the side of the highway. And again, it never does it when it's a beautiful day. It's going to do it in the worst possible times. For instance, when that one went out on me, I just filled it back up. I had a little tiny pinhole. Almost wrecked me. Came this close to wrecking me. And also, there are people that are doing tubeless tire conversions on these things. And I looked into those. And I seriously considered doing a tubeless tire conversion. Here's the problem with that. That rim is designed for a tubeless tire. The bead holds on to it really, really well. Like, it takes a lot to seat the bead on these. That one, I can pop off almost with my knee, right? So you can, the front one especially is pretty easy to pop off. Now, the rear is a freaking nightmare, which is why I've got those the $80 tool that'll stick in there and pop it off. Again, I've not used them yet. I hope they work, but everybody says they work pretty good. So you've got this tire that's pretty decent. It actually holds the rim pretty well. You could convert this to a tubeless tire fairly well, but you still have the possibility that you end up with a leak at one of the spokes. You also need to occasionally check the tension on these spokes here. So if those are screwed up, if one of them works their way out and starts to loosen up, you can get some weird warping and stuff like that on your tire. I bought a thing to put that on so I can roll it and check them and do all that stuff. But a lot of times I'll go through and check the tension. But either way, that's that. Those do better for off-road. I get it. You can drop the pressure, which I always run right at 40 PSI. Last tire got me almost 9, probably could have gone to 10,000 miles in all reality. A higher temperature or higher pressure generally keeps the tire cooler, does make it harder. I saw a video where they did test your contact patch on your tire with low pressure versus high pressure is almost negligible, and you run a much higher risk at a lower pressure of a blowout, of heating the tube up or causing problems with the tube. If you pressurize that thing, they last better, and you have less risk, at least from what I've seen. And there's not enough of a difference in the contact patch to make a difference. Now, in the winter, I do drop them down to about 35. Mostly to let them warm up, to give them that flex to actually build heat in the winter when you need it. But again, I ramble a lot, but this one is not like the back. So if you do a tubeless conversion in that one, I'm not really worried about it. You do a tubeless conversion here, as soon as, and I can tell you from personal experience with a tube in it, when that tube went flat, this came off the rim. That tire popped right off the rim like it was nothing. It was the grace of God that I didn't wreck. When that thing came, I was making a turn. I felt something was wrong. I made a turn like this into a road to get off the highway. When I did, it popped. So the rim actually pushed over onto the tire, popped off the rim, and dropped. Like I was literally riding the edge of my rim inside that tire. It tried everything to go pop and throw me off of it. And again, I don't know how I kept the thing up. I was going like 30. That was bad. That should have wrecked me. Now imagine if you don't have a tube in this and you run it low and you don't realize it, it's going to pop off the rim. So that's one of the dangers of a tube tire, is as soon as the tube loses its air, you're coming off the rim, especially in the front. Not as much in the back, but especially in the front. But it's still more apt to come off in the back, where tubeless tire, even with a flat tire, most likely, unless I'm doing something stupid, that thing's staying on there. It's staying on the rim, and I can at least get over to the side of the road. I've lost some control. I'm going to have to fight it, but most likely it's staying on the rim. So, there again, just the comparison of these two bikes, one of the reasons, that I am looking at this bike as a better fit for me. I don't take this off-road. It's too new, and I don't want to scratch it up. And the traction control makes it stupid for off-road. So one of the main uses for this bike, one of the big benefits for the way this one's set up, you kind of lost in the traction control. And one of the only reasons to keep tubeless tires on this bike is because you're taking it off-road. Because of traction control, I'm not taking it off-road. So the tubeless tires, or the tubed tires, suck for me. I want tubeless tires. By the time I buy them, they're overseas. I don't think Honda really offers them or anything that I can tell. The only people that make them is one company, and they are, by the time I buy them, ship them, and pay the tariffs, I'm looking at right at $2,000 just for tubeless rims, which I still have to take parts off of these to get. That's not like a wheel I can bring in and I can have these as spares if I wanted to, and I could. No, I got to take parts off of this, put on those, which makes these kind of useless for me. Unless I buy all that extra stuff to make those useful, and say I could put off-road tires on those and on-road tires on the other ones and kind of have the best of both worlds, I'm $2,500 in at that point. Not to mention the cost of the tires themselves, if I didn't reuse those. Where this was $2,500. And even better versions of these are $3,500, $3,250, $3,600, $4,000. Generally, $4,000 is the, really nice one at a pretty decent deal with low miles. This one was $2,500, and it's going to cost me an extra $400 or $500 for all the plastics, which are already on the way. So $2,000 of this at least just saved me buying this. I can ride this one instead of this one. Super comfortable. Easier to fix. Tools are where I need them. So again, this is where I keep going back to, why do I want to keep this bike? Oh man, it kills me because I spent a lot of money on that bike. But for my use, again, and I think most adventure riders are on the highway most of the time, hitting a dirt road 10% of the time, or a gravel road 10% of the time. Maybe you're doing a little exploring, maybe you hit a fire road. This one seems to be capable of all of that. And if I'm not like jumping rocks and crap, these are perfectly adequate for gravel roads, dirt roads, fire roads, all of those things. This will do it. No problem. This is also smaller in diameter. I think that's a 19 and a 17. Can't remember, but I think that's what it is. 19 and 17. This is 21 and 18. So when you're on the road, this is a bigger wheel. It's like a big gyroscope. So when you turn, you're actually fighting the gyroscopic effect of a larger wheel. This one turns in a little bit quicker. The big reason to have those big tires is off-road obstacles, things like that. Most of your on-road tires are smaller than this. This is a really good compromise between the two. Those motors, 150,000 miles. Excuse me, man. 150,000 miles that people are getting on these motors. Just take care of them. Change the oil. They work. So to me, again, if I put this bike back together, buy me another one of these bikes, and maybe one of them I set up more for a little more off-roady, for your trails and things like that. This is like a 90-10. Maybe I go to a 70-30 tire on the other one. And I kind of have the best of both worlds for what I want to do. And the comfort. I know that I keep going back to that comfortable seat. That's the freaking stock seat, man. And it is so comfortable. When I sit on this, I'm 5'8". I've got a 30-inch inseam. When I sit down, I'm pretty well planted. I still sort of tiptoe. But I think this has got links in it that will either raise it or lower it, and I'm pretty sure they've raised it a little bit because this seat is supposed to be an inch or so shorter than this seat. And I'm still tiptoeing on that one. So I might drop it just a little bit since it's already got the lowering links in there. I think you've got like a 4-inch variable that you can do over here. But I can get on this thing. I can ride it to work and back. I can just, you know, do what I want to do. Chances are this one might not get stolen where that one would. It's brand new. It's more valuable, so to speak. Somebody might steal this bike where they maybe will leave that one alone, especially with the side door. Maybe they'll have pity on me. But, you know, this one I've been able to customize to my preference. I can change this out if I want to. I want to get one of those Garmin Zumo XTs at some point, and I might replace this with one of those. But there again, in a perfect world, I would put tubeless tires on this, and I would disable the traction control. The dongles are like, I think they were like $400 or $500 or something crazy. And that's sort of a hack. And I've heard that that could cause problems with the computer, which kind of scares me. So I don't want to do that. But again, you're kind of hacking it. If Honda would come out with like a firmware update, or somebody would, you know, come up with a way to flash the ECU to where you could permanently do away with traction control, this bike would be a completely different story. It would be well worth keeping it if you just took off the traction control. But with the traction control, I grit my teeth every time I have to deal with it. It ticks me off every time I got to work on it. And it kind of screws me over, because in a perfect world, if I could, what I would have done is said, hey, this one is my road bike. That one is my sort of more, you know, 70-30 adventure bike. That's the one that I'm going to take up to my dad's, and we might ride up through, you know, harder places. I'm going to put some tires on it that give me a little bit more grip off-road. I can hit mud and stuff on this where maybe I can't do it on that. So now I have a role for this bike and a role for that bike, and it makes sense to keep it. But with the traction control, and you may call me a baby or whatever, but as much as I've spent on this bike, I should be able to turn that stupid thing off. It really makes this bike not fit anywhere well. So that's why I'm leaning towards selling this bike. That's why it makes more sense to me to go, hey, I'm going to get rid of this bike and I'm going to keep this one. And then I'm going to buy another one of these. And I might even buy the 1000cc version of the vstrom. And that kind of fills the roles for me. That gives me two of these bikes where when my buddy wants to ride with me, he can ride on one or the other. And it gives me 1000cc maybe, that if I want to do that, if this is maybe a little underpowered on the highway when I'm loaded up and full with luggage and all that, which I don't know if it will be, but if it is, I could go to 1000cc. And for what I've spent on here, I could probably buy one more of these and possibly most of a 1000cc bike, older one, not a new one. I realize that's 3 used bikes versus one new one, but for my money, I really like this bike. It's a fantastic little bike. So that's just my 2 cents. That's my reasons. I am more of a practical person. I don't really care about look so much. Yeah, this is not as cool of a looking bike. Don't care. It works. I also have I'm going to buy some heated grips for it, and I've got the little, I don't know what you call them, the little things that go over here where I'm hoping it'll kind of buck the wind off my hands, like a bark buster type deal. So my intention is to kind of help pull the wind off my hands a little bit in the cold. It's got the big aluminum bar, and I guess that would be useful in some cases, but mostly what I'm looking for is wind protection. So, excuse me, one of the things that this is also known for, by the way, is its oversized stator. It's got plenty of power to run everything here, and if I want to run heated gear, I'm not overtaxing the bike. Same as this. So this is an older bike, this is newer, but the overhead is about the same. I've got about the same amount of overhead electrically in this one as I do that one. So what I've done is LED headlights here. I'm going to get LED bulbs for the turn signals, LED bulbs for the running lights here and here, LED bulbs for the brake light as well, and obviously these two turn signals. So that's going to drop what it needs to power for the most part and allow me, and even if I didn't do that, it's got enough overhead, but I'm just trying to drop the demand on the stator as much as I can to where hopefully it lasts a little bit longer and I'm not fighting it all the time. By the way, here's where it latches the seat and the thing just pops in. I mean, it's just beautiful. Just boop, right in. That one I've got to fight every time I put it back on there. So, again, I'm not trying to throw off on the Transalp. I had 10,000 miles on this thing before that wheel gave me a problem. Mostly highway miles. Before that ever gave me a problem, I basically wore the tire out right at 10,000 miles. And then this one did its little thing, and that's where it wasn't anything I ran over. It was just where the tube had some grit or something between the tube and the tire, and it just popped a little pinhole in it. Thank God it didn't wreck me, and I was able to get back home. I just kept filling it up. The pinhole was small enough that it leaked slow enough that I could ride it 5 or 10 miles and fill it back up, and ride it 5 or 10 miles and fill it back up. I was like over an hour from the house, so I filled it up a lot. But I made it home like that, and I was able to get it home and change the tire here. I would not have been able to change that tire on the side of the road with what I had at the time, which is why I bought extra stuff to go with it. But for me, when you take the motor, getting its power up high, so you've got to go way on up to like 9,000 RPM to really get the power out of that motor. At 4,000 or 5,000 RPM, this thing actually seems to have more grunt to it than this one. To get the torque out of that one to where you can pass and go up hills and things like that, you're running it up to here to outdo this bike. Where this one at here at 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 RPM, as far as I can tell, riding both bikes, that has more grunt at that range than this one does. This one actually pulls ahead just by twisting the throttle in 6th gear, where that one, to get the same effect, I've got to drop a gear or maybe 2. And yeah, it would outrun this bike. It does have, I think it was 83 horsepower and this one's 60-something horsepower or something like that. So there's a difference there. I know this one's 11 foot-pounds less torque than that motor, but again, in this range, what I found is this actually has more torque where you're at, where that one, in order to get that extra 11 or 12 foot-pounds, you have to roll all the way up to here. So, you know, temperature-wise, this thing runs cooler. I'm running at lower RPMs to get the same or more torque a lot of times. That motor's going to last longer than that one will, in all reality. Now, this one I've run full synthetic all the way from after I broke it in. So first 2 oil changes at 600 miles, I think, or it's like 500. I changed it first with conventional. Then at 2,000, I changed it again with conventional. Then at 4,000, I changed it with synthetic. And from that point forward, I've run full synthetic, new oil filter every time I did it. So really, it's been well taken care of. But there's something in the back of my head every time I stop at a stoplight in Charlotte traffic where it's like, this thing's burning itself up. Where this thing never seems to get hot. It always runs middle of the, I mean, I can idle it and idle it and idle it and it stays right there. So, man, I just really like the bike. One thing I don't like about it is this foot peg seems like it's a little too high. They make a kit where you can drop it down an inch. So I probably will do that on both sides. It's like $20, so I can drop this down an inch. My knees are bent more. So if you're a taller rider, that might be something you would look at. Also, if you're a taller rider, you can get a taller seat, which would kind of help with that too. So you could do both. You could get a taller seat. You could drop the foot pegs. And that would help you out. Me, I'm kind of short, so just to kind of help my knees, I'm going to drop that down. I'll probably eventually get crash bars for it. Excuse me. And I'll probably build like a custom skid plate to go on the bottom. Maybe. I don't know if I will yet, but probably. Overall, I've been rambling for 45 minutes, but if you have an opinion on either one of these, these seem to be like the ugly duckling of the motorcycle world, but man, are they awesome bikes to me. I really like that bike. So, for what it is, I don't think you can beat it. For what I do, I'm not hitting mountaintops with this thing. So everything I've done with this bike, this one seems to be more than capable of doing, doing, and for much less money, for much less hassle, really safer with the tubeless tires, in my opinion, on the highway going 80, 90 miles an hour. I'm going to trust that tubeless tire over that tube tire, just because of the experience I had with that one going out. It made me rethink some things. I originally bought this bike for a spare. My voice is messing up on me. I originally bought this one as, hey, I want something that my buddy can ride if he wants to, and or a second bike that would be close to the capability of my Transalp, to where, say something happens with my Transalp, I got to put it in the shop, or I'm waiting on tires to come in or whatever, and I'm a little bit afraid to ride this thing for any reason, or I can't, then I've got another bike that's just here and I can hop on that thing and roll. But when I have both running, then this is my spare. This is something that my buddy can hop on and he can ride with me if he wants to, if his bike, which usually don't work, is not working. But the more I look at it, that one became the one that I want to ride. I kind of don't want my buddy to ride it. I want to ride that one, and I want to let him ride this one. But my plan is, even if I keep this bike, I'm going to buy another one of these. For somewhere in the neighborhood of $4,000, I can get another one, and I'm going to set it up and outfit it for me, and this will stay my loaner bike. And I mean, obviously I'm going to fix as much as I can, but if somebody dumps it, then, it's not a huge deal. Not that I want somebody to do it, but, it's not a huge deal. That's going to go away. I'm going to put a different box on the top, sort of like that one, but just a little bit smaller. I think that's a 60 liter. I'm going to go to a 40. But here's the thing, again, with all this crap in here under the seat, when I put that luggage rack on here and I put that box on there, that's just, honestly, by the time I ride with this, I can put one helmet right here, and I can put some more stuff here, and it's nice. But I've kind of lost a lot of my room in a 60 liter box, where if I put a 40 liter here, I've got about the same amount of room, because most of my crap's under here. Most of my tools that I don't really need every single time are under here. So it just makes sense to me. This one does have, by the way, somewhere in here, I think that's a USB-C port. I don't really understand why they did that, and it seems dumb, and so that's why I did this, where it's got that little thingy. But whatever, that's what they did. So but yeah, give me your thoughts. Worst case, I keep it, I buy another one, and I have a nice little setup, or I sell it. It pays for another one of these. I've got some cash left over to either put towards another bike or gear or put in the bank. So another thing with this too is I've got this fully covered insurance wise. This one I don't. I've just got liability, and it's far cheaper. So I'd almost rather have two of these with liability on them than one of those with full coverage. and it would actually save me money in my insurance every month. So tell me what you think. You guys have a good day.